"All I want out of life," he once said, "is that when I walk down the street, folks will say, 'There goes the greatest hitter who ever lived.'" Considering that no Major League Baseball player has hit above 400 since he last did in 1941, it's safe to say he fulfilled his goal. But Ted Williams was more than a great batter. He was also one of the most patriotic and charitable men who ever lived. He was given many eloquent nicknames by the news media and his teammates. The Splendid Splinter, the Kid, and Teddy Ballgame. All portray his amazing baseball talent, but all fail to capture the values that directed his life. Ted Williams taught us a lesson in patriotism, a lesson in perseverance, and a lesson in charity. And he did so not by lecturing or preaching, but by powerfully leading by example. The first lesson Ted Williams taught us is true patriotism and loyalty. Ted missed 5 full seasons of playing baseball in his prime by joining the Marine Corps when he was 25 and serving 3 years during World War II. However, what was even more remarkable was what he did during the early 1950s. At the age of 34, and already a national celebrity, Ted heeded his nation's call and went to fight in the Korean War. Although he only spent 2 years flying missions overseas, these 2 years were filled with bloody and destructive combat. During World War II, baseball stopped because so many ball players went to fight. But baseball was once again as strong as ever during the Korean War. Few players went to fight the communists in Korea. This made his sacrifice even more meaningful. His fans and the nation knew where his loyalties lay. Rather than playing what most people thought would be his last 2 productive seasons, Ted chose to fight for his country and risk his life in Asia. Ted had a career, success, and most importantly, a family. But nothing could keep him from being a true patriot, and he inspired many young men to join the military during these years of war. However, the Splendid Splinter did not return from war to retire, but to continue his lifelong dream of playing baseball. In doing so, he taught us a second lesson: perseverance. Ted Williams played baseball until he was 42 years old. That alone shows his heart, his commitment, and his perseverance. His physical toughness was displayed in 1950 when during the first inning of the All-Star game, he fractured his left elbow. He stayed in despite this injury and finished the game. This ability to deal with adversity was evident throughout his war years as well. During the Korean War, Ted's plane had been heavily hit by ground fire. The plane looked like it had been through hell, and a lesser pilot would have either ditched the plane or been killed himself. But Ted flew the mostly demolished plane back to safety. That wasn't the only damage Ted sustained during his service in Korea. Ted caught pneumonia and developed ear problems that deteriorated his hearing every day for the rest of his life. Yet through all these hardships, Ted persevered, returned to form, and flourished on and off the field. This ability to flourish in any situation helped Ted identify with those who were less fortunate than him. In doing so, he taught us a third lesson: charity. Ted loved helping kids. He committed himself to raising money for cancer research. His brother died from leukemia and got sick and died. This experience made it easy for Ted to relate to what cancer sufferers go through. Ted was active with the Jimmy Fund during his playing days. The Jimmy Fund began in 1948 when a baseball team owner joined up with a 12-year-old cancer patient named Einar Gustafsson. Knowing that Bostonians and New Englanders would better connect with a more American name, they changed his name to Jimmy and began raising money in his new name. Since then, the Jimmy Fund has helped thousands of patients like the original Jimmy. After Ted retired from baseball, he focused all his attention on charity. Ted raised millions himself, and now there is a permanent foundation in his name that has raised millions as well. When asked why Ted worked so hard for the Jimmy Fund, he responded, "I love kids, that's all. It's no virtue. A guy likes kids, he has to hope that their lives are going to be good, that they will avoid the pitfalls that he had. I think one of the greatest things ever said is that a man never stands so high as when he stoops to a kid." Whether it was serving his country, persevering through hard times, or helping children, Ted always had something important to teach. Ted gave up 5 years of his life to serve America. He withstood physical punishment and mental adversity to show his perseverance. Ted never stopped caring about the children, and he showcased this through his continued commitment to children's charities. Ted wanted to be the greatest hitter who ever lived, and he might very well be. But in the end, he was more than that. He was a man who led by example, and people watched and listened. We still listen to Ted's lessons today, and hope that one day, we too will have something important to teach.